Hey everybody, today is December 10th, Monday night, and you know what that means. K-Pro and Cow go live. So thanks to our special guest, Minotaur Moreno, for being on tonight. How you doing, Justin?
Very good, thank you.
Hello.
So we wanted to go over some of the things that Forrest Fenn has said. Justin put together this awesome PowerPoint, and he comes he took some of the quotes from over the years, and he's come to a good conclusion, and I think it'll be interesting to talk about. What do you think, Christy? You've read it over, right?
I like some of it, and I want to call Justin out on some of it. And Justin is, if you guys have not seen Justin before, this is the first time on our channel, but he has been on some other channels, and I can say he likes the debate. So don't be shy, and I will man the questions from the chat room, and we're going to go point. And he has some great pictures and quotes and
Yeah.
things. And then it says what is exact quote, and then what is his analysis for the researchers in the room. So we make sure to have that. I think it's incredibly well laid out. There's a couple pieces, and then he has some final conclusions, and we want to kind of spar back and forth on that. And so Justin is fantastic about that. And so he said before, when we were just chatting before we went on, he welcomes the debate. So I say to that
And the
chat room, bring
controversy.
it on.
Yes, there's nothing wrong with debate. There's nothing wrong with debate. You can be civil and still debate.
Yes, and that's what
So
we're about.
super chat is on because YouTube allows us to do that. So if anybody has something they just have to say or a question they just have to get answered, that's one way you can do it. So if you guys notice, your screen that you're viewing is split. We got us on one side, and this is Justin's PowerPoint on the other side. So it's not perfect, but hopefully you guys can read everything. And yeah, I guess we'll just jump right into it. How's everybody doing in the room? Just want to go through and say hi real quick. And you said you'll kind of monitor the chat,
Sure,
Christy?
I will try. And if I miss you, like put at KPro again, and then I mean it'll highlight if you put the at KPro Thor. So yes, I have a cold, so my voice is kind of back yesterday, and I rested all day today in store for this. So I might cough, I might hack. You'll still understand me though, I hope. I swallowed a frog, as my son would say.
Swallowed a frog. All right. Well, welcome everybody. We're up to 81 in the room now, so I think we've given it a couple minutes. So let's just jump right into it. So I wanted to ask you, Justin, why a fox? Is there a reason for that? Is there a particular reason for the graphic, or no?
I don't know. To me, Forrest just seemed appropriate, and it's just I don't know with the whole quote too about the fox and the hounds and everything.
Sly like a fox.
Yeah,
Okay.
it seems appropriate.
All right, fun with Forrest Fenn quotes, the 500, 200-foot searchers. So we're going to go over what Forrest has actually said over the years. And you provide the actual source, which is awesome.
Yes.
Okay.
And shout out to Terry Scant, because basically what I did was over the years, I've been in it for 5 years now. And so what I wanted to do was get all the quotes that I could find for the 500, 200-foot searchers and then go chronologically in order, and then break it down, and then kind of give you. I basically found 10 quotes, and then I would do the quote. This is what I think it means. And then you go to the next quote, and you say, okay, how does that change what I feel about the first quote? And then you go down the line of all 10, and eventually you come up with your final conclusion. So I would almost encourage everybody to play the same game.
Yeah, everybody in the chat, go ahead and put in your opinion as we go, and should be interesting.
Well, I want to make one comment about Terry Scant. I love Terry Scant, but when I've got called out a couple times, the one thing you have to do is on the upper right-hand corner of any quote, it'll say where it's sourced from.
Mm-hmm.
If you click on that, some of the forums are where the quotes come from. In my opinion, this is only my opinion, if it comes from Thor, Chase Chat, someone's blog, etc., unless it's one of Forrest's quotes that they've given Thor, or Dal's and Jenny's are the only direct sources and exact like video quotes. So make sure when you do grab a quote to click on where it's referenced from, because if it comes from a forum that somebody said that they heard him saying this from, what, just consider your source. So Dal's and Jenny's and actual videos, but even like really good ones like Illinois Ghost will come from usually Dal's. But just make sure you really look at the source it came from. I didn't know that until recently when I saw one and it clicked over to Chase Chat and it was actually a deleted thread. Well, that doesn't help. Was it
Right.
actually valid? Who said what? That sort of thing. I was really surprised by that. So anyway, I just wanted to give that little bit of information.
And you guys have heard of the Mandela effect, right? So I think that applies with Forrest Fenn, where everybody's like, "No, he said that," and then when you go and check, it's like, "Oh no, that's not what he said." It's almost like we
Okay.
turn it a little bit. The way we remember it is different than the way it actually happened. If nobody's heard of the Mandela effect before, look it up, and that's exactly what it is. Is that there's things in history we go, "It happened this way," but when you look it up, it's not. We've just all changed it for some reason. So, all right, here we go.
Okay, over to you, Justin. Or I guess Mike, because Mike's
Yeah.
going to be able to read it.
Yeah, you gotta tell me what you're looking at. So
Yeah, I got you. So very beginning, fun with Forrest Fenn quotes, the 500, 200-foot searcher, and then I'll add controversy at the end. Although it's not a controversy, but how we interpret it might be. So here we go. Nice picture of the fox. So Forrest Fenn quote number 1. There have been some who have been within 500 feet because they've told me where they have been. Others have figured out the first 2 clues and went right past the treasure and didn't know it. So this was an article in the Metro UK from March 8th of 2013. And I think we're all kind of familiar with this one, right? There have been some who have been within 500 feet because they told me where they've been, right?
And it's important to know, okay, to Forrest, some is the definition of some, which is a small amount. So remember that. Going through that. So remember, some is a small amount to Forrest.
Others
so
have.
You think Forrest's interpretation of some is a small amount?
I'm almost sure that it is, because if you look up his definition of all of his other interviews, when he'll say stuff like several, he'll say it's more than 2, but it's not more than 2. Not many people know that.
Oh, so I got bigger fish to fry later, so we're good though. Okay.
All right, and then Justin gives his little initial conclusion at the bottom. Between 2011 and 2013, a small number of searchers were within 500 feet of the treasure. I mean, I think that by itself is pretty huge, that people have been within 500 feet. Others figured out the first 2 clues and went right past the treasure.
Yes, and so we don't know exactly how they went right past it at this point.
Right.
But we, as of the 2 years that the search has been on.
Okay, because he's only used the word "went" by this point.
Right. They went right past the treasure.
They went right past. Okay, we're good.
Which is important for later, but yeah.
Right. So to me, it's interesting. He gives a distance for the people who have told him where they've been, which is within 500 feet. But for the others that figured out the first 2 clues, he hasn't said how close they were. He didn't give that in this quote anyway, right? Okay.
Right.
Well, and I've heard some people say if they would have been within 100 feet, he would have said 100 rather than 200. So we are safe to assume, or some would assume logically, that it's around 175 to 200 feet. Because if it would have been 150, he would have said 150, any of the kind of major intervals. And I can kind of see that. I don't know if I exactly agree. I don't know if it exactly matters, but it may to this later. I don't know.
Right.
Okay. I mean, it has to be less than 500 feet. They have to, right? Because others figured out the first 2 clues. Well, no, I guess it doesn't.
Well, he says within 500 feet. So, right. You know, how close is that? If you're within 500 feet, does that mean 500 exact, or does it mean closer or farther away?
No, but if it would have been, let's say, 375, he probably would have used 400 then. If it would have been 175.
Just like round up.
Right.
Okay. All right. I think that's a fair assumption.
Okay.
All right. Forrest Fenn.
Not too much controversy yet. Okay.
Well, and let me say with this game, if you're playing at home too, like even if you go back, like literally now you can see, like, we're going to parse every word.
Right.
And eventually you're going to come up with your own conclusion and see how close it is or how far it is away from what I had.
And the conclusion that Justin drew is pretty interesting. So you guys stay tuned to the end to see what it is. So Forrest Fenn quote number 2. There have been 2 different parties that have figured out the first 2 clues, but they went right past the treasure chest and didn't find it. This is the New Zealand radio interview from April 3rd, 2013. There have been 2 different parties. Now, does that mean at 2 different times? 2 different parties, 2 different groups, 2 different times that figured out the first 2 clues, but they went right past the treasure chest and didn't find it.
Now, and the other thing to point out too is, yes, the 2 groups are as important, but this was done literally 1 month after the previous interview.
Gotcha. Okay, so it's within a 1
really
month.
Important to look at the timestamps too.
Right. So this is 2013. Okay.
Hey, Mike, can you pull your mic away a little bit? People are saying just away a little bit because you're really loud and we're not loud enough.
Gotcha. And I tried turning it down, but for some reason.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay. And then the modified conclusion between 2011 and 2013. So this is the modified conclusion between both of those quotes that we've read. Between 2011 and 2013, a small number of searchers were within 500 feet of the treasure. Two different parties figured out the first two clues and went right past the treasure. I think that's fair.
And to Mike's point, like you don't know what two different parties mean, so you can't put more than just two different parties, whatever that means.
Right.
Okay,
I mean,
so like William has said, two different groups. I don't think it necessarily means both were groups, like both had search partners. It could be an individual person
Yes.
and a group of people.
Could be
Maybe.
a lot.
Okay, Mike, can you go a little bit more? Because they couldn't hear you this time, and we'll just play with this all night.
Yeah.
Just irritate you. I'm sorry.
I'll
They can't
just-
hear you now.
I'll just talk louder. I've never been told I was too couldn't been heard before.
Yeah, like Brad said, could be party of one. So okay, we're still at the 500 foot. It's just went past two different parties though. Okay, so we're at quote 2. Okay.
All right,
I
here
think
we
we're
go.
good.
Forrest Fenn quote number 3. Some folks correctly mentioned the first two clues in an email, and then they went right past the other 7, not knowing they had been so close. Now, this is on terryscant.com sometime in 2013.
To Christy's point, I couldn't put where this came from, but it was on Terry Scant.
And I
Yeah,
believe
well, and I
I've heard this
actually
before.
have that one. Let's see, that was from 2013. Some folks, that was from Dal Nito's cheat sheet. So I believe it if it came from Dal Nito's site. So this one's valid.
And I remember he said about some folks have correctly mentioned the first two clues, but then they went right past the other 7, and he put that wheel line in there. He used the word wheel. Remember that? So I know the quote
You
because
and
I do
your
remember
wheel.
it.
You and your wheel. Well,
I'm-
now this is the first time we're hearing past the other 7
Right,
and the email. That's the first
Yeah.
time we're getting that detail.
right. So we add on. And have it up so I can read it. If you go to the modified conclusion, now we go from between 2011 and 2013, a small number of searchers were within 500 feet of the treasure. Two different parties figured out the first two clues, but they went right past the other 7 clues. And again, we don't know how they went past it, but we know that they figured out the first 2 and past the other 7.
Now, Scott Conway just said the same 2 people. Why would Forrest say a small number, 2 different parties if they were the same people? So in other words, what I think he's asking is are the small number of searchers within 500 feet, are those the same people that figured out the first 2 clues, but then right past the other 7?
Opinion, I agree with him that he could very much be being the Sly Fox, and those are the same people. And it could be that those 200 feet people are the 500 feet people.
It could, yeah. Actually, now that I read it that way, it definitely could be the same. Okay.
So you can't discount that for any. I agree with him.
Right.
Okay, there's
right.
another question from Jeremy that says, it seems likely to me that the blaze is being looked over, which could say a lot. If you can be that close and not find indulgence, what do you think?
We're going to get there.
Yeah, we're going to
I
get
was
there at the
gonna
end.
say, yeah,
We haven't got to that point yet, right?
Right.
All right, here we go. Forrest Fenn quote number 4. I know they've cracked the first 2 and went right past the treasure chest. Several people have done that. Forrest Fenn at the Collected Works bookstore in Santa Fe, October 23rd, 2013.
Right. So now we're past initially we were into the spring of 2013. Now we've gone through the summer season, search season, into winter, right? And so that's important too. So we've already had one big round of searches into, as opposed to the beginning when it was the winter, towards the spring.
More than 2, but not many more than 2 have figured out the first 2 clues. That's interesting.
Which is Forrest's classic definition, and he has actually said that on.
Several people have done that, he said.
Exactly means that, and he even says, I think it was one of the bookstore interviews, and he goes, "Not many people know that, but I do because I write," or something to that effect.
All right.
So you think because he said several, we've now gone from 2 to more than 2? That's what I'm hearing.
I think he specifically knows, especially several means more than 2.
Yeah.
Not
2. Yeah, I agree with that. So then we go into Force. You're still not sure?
No, I need more evidence. So I know I've seen the whole journey, so I'm gonna wait.
So Christy, at my modified conclusion, you already read the modified conclusion to number 4?
I did. I've already put it up. Yeah, you were kind of talking about it. Yeah.
Are we in agreement to this point or no?
See, here's where I think I know Forrest a little bit. He tells stories and he talks. And so here he's at the Collected Works bookstore. And so he says the word several rather than some off the cuff. Holding a whole conclusion to that is where I have the issue, because he's a storyteller. He fudges words. And so I think he has time to work out his handwritten words. If he says several rather than some, I know exactly what you're saying, and I agree with you. If he would have had the time to think it through, I'm not 100% convinced yet, because it was off the cuff at the bookstore, Q&A, things are going back and forth, several versus some. Would I hang my hat on it? Not 100% yet.
Okay, fair enough.
Okay, Forrest Fenn quote number 5. People have been within 200 feet. And I know that because people send me emails and they tell me exactly where they are. The people that were within 200 feet, the people that were 200 feet from the treasure didn't know that they were. They were searching, but they didn't know they were within 200 feet. So my question is, are those the same people that solved the first 2 clues?
All right, and in context, we got to keep this in context too. The last quote that you just read, was October 23rd, 2013. This is 4/27/2015. So we have gone an entire another search season.
Yeah, a year and a half later. True. So this is the beginning.
Now,
a year and a half later.
So now here's a question from Ironwell. So logically, using common sense without trickery, we're going to assume that if you have figured out the first 2 clues, then you are within 200 feet of the treasure. Question mark.
I don't agree with that. I think it puts you well.
And that's the question: is, are these people the same people? People have been within 200 feet, and I know that because people send me emails and they tell me exactly where they are. But that doesn't necessarily mean they've figured out the first 2 clues. It just means they happen to have been in the right location, right?
Right.
Yeah, that's interesting. All right, so then we go to your conclusion, the modified conclusion. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm actually seeing what you're saying now, because the 200-foot comment was not at the same ones. Quote 1 says others have figured out the first 2 clues, so they're not. Okay, I would have linked them together. I'm following you. I'm picking up what you're throwing down. Okay,
all right. People have been within 200 feet, but so far he hasn't said anything that means those are the people that figured out the first 2 clues. Can we agree on that?
Yes.
We don't know. He may mean that, but he hasn't specifically said it. In other words,
Brad, we're getting there. Hold on, Brad. There is one, and you'll see it in a minute.
It all comes together at the end.
Okay.
Yeah, it does.
So the modified conclusion: by the spring of 2015, a small number of searchers were within 500 feet of the treasure, and more than one searcher has been within 200 feet of the treasure. More than 2, but not many more than 2, have figured out the first 2 clues, but then went right past the other 7 clues. Can we agree with that? Let me read that again.
I agree with that.
You wrote that.
So a small number of searchers were within 500 feet. We know that. This is by the spring of 2015. More than one searcher has been within 200 feet of the treasure, but we don't know if that person is the same one that figured out the first 2 clues.
Right.
Okay. We don't know if those are the same people. Now, it makes sense. It's logical that if they figured out the first 2 clues, they would be that close. But I guess we don't know for sure yet that that's the case, right? Sound right? All right. What do you guys think? Everybody following here in the chat room? Is everybody with us?
Yeah. There's some people that want to jump on the panel right now. There's some people that are. I mean, yeah. I think we're all there. There was a question, which is gone now. It's flown by. I apologize. I was trying to concentrate on the logic. If then.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So we're really getting into his quotes here. All right.
Yeah, we're starting to get dense. Like, it's starting to get very dense.
And how many quotes are there total, Justin? Do you remember offhand?
10.
There's 10 quotes total. Okay, so we're halfway through right now. We're halfway to, and we're within 200 feet of the treasure. So who knows what's going to happen by the end of this thing? All right, here we go. Forrest Fenn quote number 6. There have been a few people within 500 feet. I think there have been people within a couple hundred feet. They figure the first 2 clues, but they don't get that 3rd and the 4th, and they go right past the treasure chest. Julius Brighton, I'm assuming that's an interviewer. This was May 20th of 2015.
So this is 1 month after the last quote.
Okay, there have been a few people within 500 feet, and now it's weird that now he says, I think there have been people within a couple 100 feet. Although before, I think he said he knew, like he knows because
Right.
people tell him exactly where they've been.
Right.
They figure the first 2 clues. So now he's saying they are the same people. I think he's verified now. They figure the first 2 clues, but they don't get the third and the fourth, and they go right past the treasure chest. All
This
right?
is where we can. I think it's a huge clue, but this is very debatable, for sure, for this modified conclusion.
All right, so let's look at the modified conclusion. So the modified conclusion of these first 6 quotes is, by the spring of 2015, a small number of searchers were within 500 feet of the treasure, and more than one searcher has been within 200 feet. More than 2, but not many more than 2. That's all we can really say. Have figured out the first 2 clues, but then went right past the other 7 clues. So your deduction from this is solving the first 2 clues gets a searcher to within at least 500 feet of the treasure. If you don't solve the 3rd and 4th clues correctly, you can go right past the treasure chest. So that's interesting. If you solve the first 2 clues, that gets you to within at least 500 feet of the treasure. I think based on what we've just gone through, I think I would agree with that.
Okay. The room is gonna kill me if I don't put some.
Yeah, go ahead.
Some feedback in. He stated one time the people rarely send them emails to their exact location. I think that's true, but some people do.
Right.
I don't know how that plays a factor in there, but
Right, and I did my best to keep that out of the conversation. I'm strictly going
you're
off of
focusing on
Yeah.
this. Okay.
quotes. Like I'm strictly like I'm not saying that there's not other stuff that he's also said. I'm just saying off of these 10 quotes, this is what you can get from it.
Okay. Maybe not nailing down the first clue causes them to pass the chest and being 200 feet. So maybe it's the first clue, but he said the first 2 clues. Okay, well, there's the feedback. Is maybe not nailing down the first clue causes them to pass the chest and being 200 feet.
Okay, and
I'm
then
just throwing it out.
And then Phil says these quotes frustrate me because Forrest has said the clues got easier as you went along, and even the little girl in India could decipher the first 2. Seems more like a tease to go boots on the ground for searchers.
Well, first you have to define what the first 2 clues are for that.
Right. So we know begin at where warm water's halt. I'm pretty sure we can all agree that's clue number 1.
The only part of the first clue.
Right. Is the canyon down clue number 2, or if when you're at where warm water's halt, it's obvious where the canyon down is, and that's not really clue number 2.
And this is where Justin and I part ways.
Right. Well, not that we part ways on that, but that doesn't have anything to do with what we're looking at. Yeah,
but by the end it will.
right, by the end of it.
Yeah.
But the other thing is, if solving and I'm just thinking out loud, and this might be part of one of the other quotes, but if solving the first 2 clues get you within 500 feet, where does the not far but too far to walk part come in? Because that's where you go later.
Yeah.
Because to me,
that's what I was trying to say. Like that's what led to what I think we're going to go to.
Well, but is too far but not too far to walk an actual one of the 9 clues? To me, no.
No, I don't think it is either.
So that's why I don't think we even need to debate it. I think it is a more philosophical,
But my point is, 500 feet is not too far to walk. A football field is 100 yards, which is 300 feet. With the end zones, I think it's about 360 feet. So a football field and a half, roughly, is 500 feet, and to me, that's not too far to walk. We're going boots on the ground. So
I agree. That's why 3 and 4 have to be.
You cut out.
Walk has to be part.
Say it again. You cut out for a minute.
Oh, I'm just saying, too far to walk. To me, I mean, I'll just tell you what I think. I think that warm water's halt, take it to the canyon down, not far but too far to walk is all the first clue. And put in those.
Okay.
So the first sentence of stanza 2 is what you think clue number 1
I think
is,
and
that's possible. Yeah.
I think this, to me, after doing this, I won't say it convinced me, and I'll never be 100% on anything, but to me, it's very strongly suggests that the sentences are
I see what you're saying, because the 500 feet is not too far to walk. And even with that scrapbook that came out, Christy, what do you think? 500 feet, would that be considered too far to walk or no? As far as the distance,
No, I think that refers to getting out of your car and how far you have to walk.
But
Totally.
that's what we're talking about. Because if we take, it's not far, but it's too far to walk. Literally, 500 feet is not too far to walk, is it?
Well, what, Christy? What would be
Right.
your
So
second?
that's why you're saying that if you group all three of them, the too far to walk. I see what you're saying.
Because
I
that's
need
the only
to-
way to get out of your car, and you're starting to walk now. And
okay. The room is now repeating things to me. So hold on a
Okay.
second. So he says people have
again,
been
it's gonna become
500.
controversial. It's gonna it's definitely gonna start poking.
No, I like it. I like
Right.
this. So, okay, here's the first one. Iron Will says, so he says people have been 500 and 200, and then he groups them in saying they figured out the first two clues and missed the third. That means that the third clue is a distance clue.
That-
They figured
no. I don't agree with that. I agree with they solved the first two clues, and then somehow they're walking for the third and fourth clue.
Well, if we're warm water salt's clue 1 and take it in the canyon down is clue 2, the not far but too far to walk would be the distance clue. Or not even if it's a clue, they're not going the right distance.
Right.
And they're passing up
Right,
clue
but
3 and 4.
how many times has he said WWWH or where worms water halt is your first clue? Or he'll say begin it with warm water salt. He's never said begin it with warm water salt in the canyon. Below the he's
And
never
would he?
put all of the. And I think he would if all of that was one clue.
And my argument to that, Christy, is well, we're not there yet. Let's
yeah, okay. All right, we'll get there, everybody. We'll get there.
We'll get there.
All
I
right.
like it though. Great, good.
Forrest Fenn quote number 7. Searchers have come within about 200 feet. Some may have solved the first 4 clues, but I am not certain. Dale Neitzel, Forrest Gets Mail, 11/2/2015. That's pretty huge.
That's huge. That's enormous.
Because if they've solved the first 4 clues, they are now within 200 feet of the treasure chest, right? Can't we logically conclude that?
Ding, ding, ding.
No, but he says some may have. I think this is just.
No, he says searchers have come within about 200 feet. Oh, I see what you're saying. Some may have solved the first 4 clues, but I am not certain.
Slow day in the office.
Are those two different things? I guess is what the question is. Are those two separately unrelated things? Forrest is tricky. I'll say that.
Tricky's not, but go by all the other quotes. I mean, we're getting all the way from a 500, so it's less than 500. You know for sure is the first 2, right?
Right.
Okay, I see what you're doing. You're building
the next 4 is going to be less than 500.
So, yeah, I got you. But Jeremy is saying it's entirely plausible. They figured out clue 1 and 2. They didn't figure out 3 and 4, but they accidentally came within 500 feet at some point.
And we'll get there. That's going to be the next quote.
Oh, okay.
So can we the modified conclusion for this one?
Oh, yeah, here we go. Okay, modified conclusion.
All, let's go the time. So this is, we've gone through another search season.
End of search season 2015.
Right. So we've gone from May to now we're November. So all.
Mike. Here's one. Just because you bring up timing, Michael Hall says, "What if there is something to be learned, boots on the ground, from the earlier clues that is needed from the interpretation of the later clues, and that's why this is kind of building." I wonder if they're he hasn't said they're the same people, but it's kind of interesting because he always says you can't Google Earth it to the last clue. So okay, but keep going. What are we on? 7?
No, the modified conclusion. You want to read it, Justin, or you want me to read it?
Yeah, I got it up now, so I figured it out.
Yeah, go ahead.
So by the end of 2015, a small number of searchers were within 500 feet of the treasure. More than one searcher has been within 200 feet of the treasure and may have solved the first 4 clues. More than 2, but not many more than 2, have figured out the 2 clues. But they were right past the other 7 clues. Solving the first 2 clues gets a searcher to within at least 500 feet of the treasure. Solving the first 4 clues gets a searcher to within at least 200 feet of the treasure. If you don't solve the 3rd and 4th clues correctly, you can go right past the treasure.
Solving the first 2 clues gets a searcher to within at least 500 feet of the treasure. I think we can say that. And this is just my opinion. I think we can say that. Solving the first 4 clues gets a searcher to within at least 200 feet of the treasure. If you don't solve the 3rd, and 4th clues correctly, you can go right past the treasure chest. What do you think, Christy? No?
To me, you're assuming that it is linear. What if there is a switchback? What if there is something that what is there an elevation? What? Huh?
He said that one of his quotes was there's a girl that asked him, "Do you ever find yourself switching back?" And he said no.
Well, okay, not literally a switchback, but what if there is not a straight line between just saying 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? Maybe it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You know what? Not switchback as in switchback on a trail, but maybe it is not. Maybe one of them is elevation. One of them is, so there's literally no real difference between. So this is the one that I part
I
with.
agree. Like one of my solves earlier on, like is an asterisk, right? And so you have points, and then if you put all the points together, eventually it would show you where the middle is, and that would be where the treasure was. But I don't think with these quotes, it just seems like it's really as easy as go down, put in, you're 500 feet away, go 200 feet away, you're 4 clues in.
Right.
So everything has to be linear. It couldn't be circular. There couldn't be like a curved trail. All curved trails are out.
There's only one way, right?
Right, but so anything curved is out. All wheels, all metal wheels are out.
This summer he said that there's one way in, one way out, right? There's no other way that I could think of to go in and do it.
Well, does this make sense? Okay, so between 200 feet and 500 feet is basically a football field. That's the difference we're talking about. So if the assumption is people that solve the first 2 clues are within 500 feet, and then you go another football field of distance, now you may have solved the first 4 clues. Could that be an arc? In other words, could that football field make you go out a football field? Now you're 500 feet away, but then you come back. The clues lead you back to within 200 feet. Well, no, I guess it wouldn't, because the 500 feet people are getting closer to 200 feet.
Right, and then the people that might have, he doesn't know for sure that they solved, if they did or didn't solve the third.
Right, he's not certain.
I don't think there's enough evidence here to make this logical. Up to this point, it's been when, if, A, B, I'm with you, we're jumping on the lily pads together. This one, I think he made a conclusion that there's just too many other things that could be, like an arc, like elevation. I could give you too many scenarios that what if doesn't apply. And what if doesn't apply? This is a binary. It's a 0-1, 0-1. This would make it a null hypothesis, right? If we're putting our statistical hats on.
But would you also agree that very likely just because it's not 100% doesn't mean that it couldn't be the most obvious of all the possible solutions?
Yes. I like the simplicity of this, and he says simplify. I do like it. I just think there's other scenarios.
Right. So fair enough. So we're not at 100%, but we could still be at 90% confidence rating.
Okay, I gotta read Iron.
He's disagreeing with you, Christy.
I disagree with your modified Merino. Okay, you are grouping the first 4 people with 200 feet from his quote, yet you disagreed with me grouping 2 elements from his quote. I know. I'm not saying I'm logical. I'm saying I'm playing devil's advocate. I'm still digesting like the rest of you. So let's see what else we have. It's just gone too fast. We're gonna have to go back through. So let's go through all 10.
This is gonna be one of those that you're gonna have to redo over.
Yeah, this video, I think a lot of people are gonna be watching and pausing and reading, and it's good. It's eventually definitely a good discussion. But we still got 2 quotes to go to tie this thing together, right?
Right.
Okay. So for my personal opinion, for quote 7. Searchers have come within about 200 feet, period. Some may have solved the first 4 clues, but I'm not certain. I don't know if I can lump those 2 people together. To me, it's 2 separate things he's saying. I don't know yet. Okay. Forrest Fenn quote number 8. I don't know that anyone has been closer to the treasure chest than about 200 feet. That's from Mysterious Writing, 6 Questions, February of 2016.
So there's been no search season still. This is over the winter.
Right. Well, to me, that's interesting because in the previous quote, he said some may have solved clue 3 and 4. I'm not sure. I'm not certain. And now he says, I don't know that anyone's been closer to the treasure chest than 200 feet.
Right. So there's some natural barrier that keeps everybody at 200.
So if you're at clue 3 and 4, you're at least 200 feet away. Could we draw that conclusion? Christy, what do you think?
I'm sorry, I got distracted. Say that again.
So in the previous quote, he said some may have solved clue 3 and 4. I'm not certain, right? Now in this quote, he says, I don't know that anyone has been closer to the treasure chest than about 200 feet. So does that mean if you're at clue 3 and 4, you're still 200 feet away from the treasure chest?
I don't think it's this simple. I mean, I see it. I see you and Justin, and you guys are like there. I don't, and I might pull out. I might pull out a ringer at the end just to make it clear, but I don't want to go there just yet.
Okay, but I think it's definitely possible. I mean,
and again,
I don't know. I just think
100%. Even if it's not 100%, there's a confidence rating, right? You can still be really confident.
Yeah, exactly. You don't have to just say it's right or it's wrong, right?
Okay, so when I had a solve that was within, or my clues were miles apart, this is telling me, this has shown me, throw that out and start over. Now, between 200 and 500 feet, I think we're mincing words, but it's still interesting. And I still like, if I had a honed in solve, this would be really interesting. I'm just not there yet. It helped me go with my Nez Perce solve. It made me go, I'm done. There's too many miles between it. And this has shown me I'm too many miles apart. So that's the reason that like the 500, I know it's important. I know it's important to something, but I'm just not far enough yet. So I'm not discounting it totally. I'm just saying I'm not locked in for sure yet.
So Jeremy Parnell agrees. He says you can come to the conclusion that clue 3 and 4 does not get you closer than 200 feet. But somebody said something that's kind of the Chase Second Chance said solvers of clues 3 and 4 may not have been boots on the ground. Well, I would hope we would have to be boots on the ground to solve clue 3 and 4, but I guess we are assuming.
He only said that.
Hey, we'll take care of that. We'll take care of that.
Oh, it does? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, we ready to continue on? There's 2 quotes left.
Well, did we read this one?
Oh, not the modified. That's right. Here we go. You want to read it? You want me to?
Yeah. By the start of 2016, a small number of searchers were within 500 feet of the treasure. More than one searcher has been within 200 feet of the treasure. Mr. Fenn doesn't know of anyone that has been closer than 200 feet from the treasure, and those people may have solved the first 4 clues. More than 2, but not many more than 2, have figured out the first 2 clues, but they went right past the other 7 clues. Solving the first 2 clues gets the searcher to within at least 500 feet of the treasure. Solving the first 4 clues gets the searcher to within at least 200 feet of the treasure. If you don't solve the 3rd and the 4th clues correctly, you can go right past the treasure.
I have a question. Grizzly Bear, are you right? 242 paces too far to walk is 500 feet? 242 paces is 500 feet? Does anybody know? Is that?
Say it again.
Grizzly Bear says 242 paces are 500 feet.
How tall is the person?
Yeah, that I don't know.
I don't know. I just find that would be really interesting. Too far to walk, 242.
I mean, I'm sure there's a specific definition for a pace.
Right.
Yeah, we've got to look that up.
Yeah.
So
Scott, here's another
one.
Where is it at? So Iron Will says it says that 1 and 2 were within 200 feet. He has never confirmed. Oh, it says clues 1 and 2 are 200 feet away. This is Iron's conclusions from this. He has never confirmed clues 3 and 4 were completed. Therefore, only clue 1 and 2 have the 200 feet qualification, in his opinion.
So, but he said it's from the treasure chest. He said it's from the treasure.
Wow. We have quote number 9.
We're not done yet. We're not done yet.
Oh, wait, there's more.
We're almost done, though.
And then we can really discuss everything. Then we're going to go through it all again from the beginning. All right, here we go. Forrest Fenn quote number 9. I don't know that anyone has been closer than 200 feet, and I don't think they have. But sure, people have figured the first couple of clues and unfortunately walked right past the treasure chest. On the Road with Charlie, Part 1, 5/8 of 2017.
All right. And so it needs to be said that Fenn quote number 8 before this was on February 4th, 2016. This is now another search season has passed on 5/8/2017. So a whole year and change.
So nobody has still gotten closer to 200 feet that he knows of. And he says he doesn't think they have, right?
But you're burying the lead. What's the W word on the 3rd line? Couple of clues and unfortunately walked right past.
Oh, that's it. He says, and they walked right past the treasure chest. That's interesting as far as we're talking about distances here, right?
And somebody asked earlier, is it walking or was he on a horse or in a vehicle? This is where, bam, this is what Iron says. Bam, there you go.
But hang on a minute. Isn't that a contradiction? If he thinks nobody has been within 200 feet, how do you walk right past the treasure chest if you haven't been within 200 feet? Are they going the wrong way? Are they
Oh yeah, that will be the
the
last.
modified?
That's the
Modified.
last quote.
Okay, here's
Yeah.
the modified conclusion. Go ahead and read it.
By the spring of 2017, all number of searchers were within 500 feet of the treasure, and more than one searcher has been within 200 feet of the treasure. Mr. Fenn doesn't know of anyone that has been closer than 200 feet from the treasure, doesn't believe anyone has been within 200 feet of the treasure, and believes those 200 feet searchers may have solved the first 4 clues. More than 2, but not many more than 2, have figured out the first 2 clues, but then walked right past the other 7 clues. Solving the first 2 clues gets a searcher to within at least 500 feet of the treasure. Solving the first 4 clues gets a searcher to within at least 200 feet of the treasure. If you don't solve the third and fourth clues correctly, you can walk right past the treasure chest.
Now, I agree with that could
I
be
like the last
possible.
part.
I agree that that's a possibility. Let me put it that way. I agree that could be correct. And it's interesting if it is correct. Solving the first 2 clues gets a searcher within 500 feet. I agree with that one totally. This is just my opinion. Solving the first 4 clues gets a searcher to within at least 200 feet of the treasure. That one, maybe. And if you don't solve the third and fourth clue correctly, you can walk right past the treasure chest. But what does that mean? I mean, if we're going to take that statement literally, what does he mean? But how close would you have to be to walk right past it? I guess.
Well, you bring up the interesting question, Mike. If we walk right past it and nobody has been within 200 feet, walking right past it has to be further than 200 feet, right?
And remember, we're going back by definition of what Forrest means. Couple means 2. So people have figured out the first 2.
But then he said walk right past it. I think of walk right past it like I could have touched it as I walked past it, not 200, not almost a foot.
I disagree with that. I mean, you'd be on a trail and it could be to the left or right of you.
And that's what I was just going to say. What if people are making...
No, but you're still walking past it. Like, say that you're going down a trail that's 2 miles long. You could totally, and it's to the right or left of you, and you just walk right past it and keep going down the trail.
Okay, so let's...
Okay, in your scenario, is that you're walking past it, that's 200 feet to your right, you're going to keep going, and that's
I'm saying I'm on the trail 500 feet. It's 500 feet away from me on my right, say.
Okay,
right?
okay.
And then I solved the first 2 clues. That's how you walk right past it. And then the third and fourth clue gets you to the from 500 to 200.
Okay, here's a great point. Let me ask you this way, because William puts it. If K-Pro was in North Carolina and went to New Mexico, did she go right past Florida? Passing the chest, in theory, isn't really measured in distance then.
But I look at it this way. A lot of people think that drawing nigh means left, right? That they think that's a directional clue. If I go right instead of left, in other words, 200 feet left is where the treasure chest is, but I go right 200 feet, or I just go right, I think it's valid to say I walked past the treasure chest. It was that way, but I went this way. So even though it's 200 feet away, I walked past it because I went the wrong way. I would agree with that one.
See, I do have to rethink it because what you're saying totally makes logical sense. But up to this point, I thought like, oh, I kind of like walked right over it kind of thing. Like walked right over it. That's what I took it as. But I think your guys' interpretation is better than or more accurate because I assumed incorrectly.
And because I think it's because he used the term walked right past the other 7 clues. Makes you think it was right there. You should have been able to see it within eye distance, and you walked right past it.
Touch it.
That's interesting. All right, are we ready for the last one?
Yep.
And then we wrap this bad boy up.
People are playing canasta at this point. Okay, keep going though.
It's a very well put together presentation, Justin. So thank you. Especially when you do it with the search seasons in mind of how it's progressed. Okay, the final. That 200 feet is pretty accurate. But there weren't too many people within 200. Lots of people within 500 feet of the treasure. But the people that were within 200 feet didn't know that they were that close to the treasure, and they walked right on by it. The Lure Q&A, May of 2017.
Which is 10 days later than the last slide.
That 200 feet is pretty accurate, but there weren't too many people within 200 feet. Lots of people within 500 feet of the treasure. But the people that were within 200 feet didn't know that they were that close, and they walked right on by it. Walked right,
Right
on
on.
by makes me
Right
think
on.
it's right there. Yeah.
Right there. Yeah. So once he says right, okay, right on
So
past it. Like right on.
okay, but check it out. It could be a play on words. When Forrest says they were within 200 feet, what if they were within 10 feet? But Forrest doesn't want to give that as a clue.
Right, but you also remember the Lord, wasn't that the Q&A that kind of got sprung on him that he wasn't ready?
Yes, that's true.
So this, I would say I would lean more towards this is kind of just straight.
Truth
This is
off top of his head.
right.
Okay, let's go back to what Scott Conway had said last week. Maybe there's a road right there and people are, and it's like it's a trail underneath the road or a bridge or something. Could be something like that. And then that kind of blows up all, well, but he said it's off a beaten path.
Yeah,
but the whole road and highway, that sort of thing, that's something to play with there is all I'm saying.
And there's no human trail in close proximity. And
what's proximity? 200, 500, 5 miles, 50 miles, 500 miles?
well, to me, that means his definition of close proximity is 500 feet.
Walked right by it. All right, here's the final conclusion. Go ahead and read.
Well, no, this is the modified, and then I kind of.
Oh, at the end you tie it together. Okay.
Right, and then I kind of tie everything together after I thought of everything. But okay, so since the spring of 2017, lots of searchers have been within 500 feet of the treasure.
Lots. Okay.
Since the summer of 2013, more than one searcher has been within 200 feet of the treasure. Mr. Fenn doesn't know of anyone that has been closer than 200 feet of the treasure and doesn't believe anyone has been within 200 feet of the treasure. He believes the 200-foot number is pretty accurate and believes those 200 feet searchers may have solved the first 4 clues.
He did just say 200 feet is pretty accurate, so that kind of blows my theory that they were actually closer out of the water. Okay, sorry.
Right. So more than 2 searchers, but not many more than 2, have figured out the first 2 clues, but then walk right past the other 7 clues. Solving the first 2 clues gets a searcher to within at least 500 feet of the treasure. Solving the first 4 clues gets a searcher to within at least 200 feet of the treasure. If you don't solve the 3rd and the 4th clues correctly, you can walk right past the treasure.
Okay, so there's a lot to unpack here. So
Yeah,
since
there
this
is.
is like this is it. So since the spring of 2017,
Well, the last slide, the last slide is kind of the better.
He sums it up in the next one, but go ahead. Let's read this one.
oh, that's the one that I thought.
The next
Okay,
one.
that's
Okay.
I'm sorry, that's where I was at.
Should we just go to the next one?
Yeah, just go to the next one. So you can get my final conclusion. This is my final conclusion.
Okay. Here we go.
It kind of groups it all and make it something.
And there's that fox again. And then we
Right.
turn into Fandango, the treasure hunt. No, go ahead.
Right.
Go ahead.
Which I think I figured that one out too.
Uh-oh.
But
That's another show.
Spring of 2017, lots of searchers have been within 500 feet of the treasure.
Wow.
Statement 1. Statement 2. Since the summer of 2013, more than one searcher has been within 200 feet of the treasure. Mr. Fenn doesn't know of anyone that has been closer than 200 feet from the treasure and doesn't believe anyone has been within 200 feet of the treasure. He believes that 200-foot number is pretty accurate. 3. More than 2 searchers, but not many more than 2 searchers, but not many more than 2 have figured out the first 2 clues, but then walked right past the other 7 clues. Mr. Fenn believes those 200-foot searchers may have solved the first 4 clues. Statement 4. Solving the first 2 clues gets a searcher to within at least 500 feet of the treasure. Solving the first 4 clues gets a searcher to within at least 200 feet of the treasure. If you don't solve the 3rd and 4th clues correctly, you can walk right past the treasure chest. Dun, dun, dun.
So
Okay, wait. Can we take this by piece?
Yes, yeah.
So since the spring of 2017, lots of searchers have been within 500 feet of the treasure.
Lots.
Lots.
But
Let's just say that's more than a couple. That's more than 2.
Well,
so 3 or more.
By definition in Webster, it's a large number.
A large number.
But that
Can you
doesn't
define
mean
large?
that they've solved the first 2 clues. They could have been there by coincidence, right? They just happen to be within 500. So that treasure chest, to me, that means the treasure chest is within 500 feet of a trail or an area where people are passing through. Okay?
That's what I believe.
Okay. Go ahead, Christy. You want to keep going?
Yeah.
You didn't like
Yeah,
that
well,
one, did you?
I had some things to say there, but that's okay. Because there's the whole idea. Sometimes he says searcher, sometimes he doesn't. So I think there's a lot of people that have been within 500 feet. I don't know if I agree with you searchers, because I don't think
And that's
many
what I
people
mean.
have made as much progress as everyone that thinks they've been in this hunt, especially when they've had the same solve for years. They think they're that one person, and there's like 5,000 of them. And I just don't think it's a large number. I think it's a few or less than 10. Anyway, since the summer of 2013, more than one searcher has been within 200 feet of the treasure. Okay. Are we good there, Mike?
Is it since the summer of 2013 or prior
Yeah.
to 2013? Would it had to have been that summer? Is that what the first quote pretty much said?
Yeah.
Second
Well, and then there's also the quote of two parties or whatever. But
okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Mr. Fenn doesn't know of anyone who has been closer than 200 feet from the treasure and doesn't believe that anyone has been within 200 feet of it. See, I need to rethink this one because when I hear right by it, I thought absolutely much more close than 200 feet, but I may be wrong.
Right. Well, he said that's a specific quote. He says that what quote was it? It was I don't know that anyone has been closer than 200 feet, and I don't think they have. Quote number 9.
And 200 feet is, I'm just thinking of an actual, so a football field is 300 feet. Think of 200 feet. So from the end zone to the half
about
to the
60 yards.
Yeah, about 60 yards. That's not that far. I mean, from here to there, I can see 60 yards. But of course, if you're in trees and it's a wilderness, I guess that would take a while to walk. But
I mean, all of it past clue number 2 is 500 feet.
Right.
So I mean, it's pretty close for the 7.
I think that's accurate. I think you've proven that from clue 1 to the end is within 500 feet. Would that be an accurate
clue
statement?
3 to 9 is 500 feet.
I protest.
Yeah. So you can once you solve 2.
Oh, that goes back to the too far to walk statement. Why?
Right.
So
and that's why I was saying yes. So now we can debate that. Well, unless Christy, you want to go to the next point?
Well, let's go back to too far to walk, just because that's at the beginning of this. Illinois Ghost. I thought of this, but Illinois Ghost actually mentioned it. What if it's too far to walk because it's elevation? So in other words, you're looking down, and it's 200 feet right there, but you can't walk to it. You've got to go around somehow. You've got to drive down and go around.
Another example too is I live on a peninsula, right? And so if you look on one side of the lake, if you want to go and literally where the peninsula is, it almost meets another peninsula. And if you would swim across it, that would be 30 feet maybe.
Right.
But to get there walking, you would have to walk literally 20 miles to get to that.
And that's the other thing, too far to walk. Maybe you can swim to it. But it's too far to walk. No, I'm not saying you should. I'm saying that's why it's too far to walk. You've got to go around. So that would kind of explain the 200 feet rule. We're like, well, wait, that's not too far to walk. But if it's an elevation, if you can't get
what's the scenario that puts you there? Like you have to think. Yeah, I could also fly too, but what is I can think of a lot of specific reasons for you to drive because he's brought up he was in his car and he went there twice. So you have to incorporate a car somehow. So incorporate a car. How do you incorporate a car and get from the start of the poem through 2 clues to 500 feet with a car?
Well, my whole piece is that it's straight. It's kind of like the crows fly, or how do you get there? I mean, there might be, and it might not be straight. It might be arched or curved with. I don't know. That the whole
thing is interesting.
It's interesting, but I don't think the big thing for me. I don't know what the big thing for me is. There's too much.
I'm printing this out and taking it with me when I go boots on the ground. I'll tell you that.
Well, but okay, so let's see. Solving the first 2 clues gets a searcher to within 500 feet of the treasure. I like that. Okay, I'm with you there. Solving the first 4 clues. Now this is.
Say you like that. If you're going to say you like that, then what's your second clue?
If Homer Brown is the second clue,
it makes sense. It makes complete sense as long as Homer Brown is put in below the Homer Brown as the second clue.
So in other words, you find where warm waters halt, and when you take it into Canyon Down, it's too far to walk, so you're driving to Homer Brown. And when you arrive at that location, you're now within 500 feet.
That's where we're getting out the car. Wait.
What?
So the 200 500 foot quotes have now gotten us to where we get out of our car.
500 feet. No. Below the Homer Brown is the second clue, and that's when you get out of your car.
Justin thinks Homer Brown is clue number 2. Now that might be a whole other show.
That's a whole different.
He thinks the first sentence in stanza 2 is the first clue.
No, WWWH is number 1. Canyon is number 2.
Well, that's the
question. Then how does that get you to 500 feet out of your car?
That's why I can't go with your logic, and I might be confirmation biasing. I need more time than this.
Well, okay, hang on. canyon down can be clue number 2 as long as not too far to walk is included in it. So in other words, you're driving. You're driving down that canyon. It's too far to walk. The canyon is too far to walk. You got to drive it. And
why do we have to put that as a clue?
Because
to make the 500-foot rule work.
Yeah, so to make this work, we're going to
Homer Brown is clue number 3, right? So okay, so when you get to Homer Brown, then you're within 500 feet, because he said more than one person has solved the first 2 clues and been within 500 feet. Isn't that what he said?
I'm saying that whatever your 9 clues are, the first 2 have to get you to 500 feet. 3 and 4, you have to be able to get you to 200 feet and have with the potential of walking by.
But the end of 2 is the beginning of 3. The end of your canyon is the beginning of your Homer Brown.
Well, we don't know it's the end of the canyon. You're just taking the canyon until you reach the Homer Brown. And
okay,
that's where
at that point,
it
is the end of one and the beginning of the other.
The canyon could keep going, but we're stopping where the Homer Brown is. Is that what you just said?
Which is the end of 2.
Would logically be put in.
Right. Yeah. So what's wrong with it? I think we all agree.
And I'm saying, no, you're saying it's 3, and I'm saying it's the end of 2. It's a nuance, but it's important for this quote.
Put in below the Homer Brown is clue 2, yeah.
Yeah, my only argument is you have to have, first 2 have to get you to 500 feet, and 3 and 4 have to kind of work in tandem. And you can, because you can walk past 3 and 4 at 200 feet.
So if I'm at the right where warm waters halt, and I'm going right down the correct canyon, for the people who think those are 2 clues, I'm going to come within 200 feet as long as I keep going down that canyon. I may pass the Homer Brown, but you're driving. Right. He didn't say that the people that were within 500 feet weren't driving.
Where did we get that word? Where do we get anything
he said
from walking or driving out of that?
3 and 4.
Say it again, Christy. What?
I don't understand how we're able to make any conclusions of whether we're in a car, in a parking lot, or out off a trail based on these.
Only because it's too far to walk. If it's too far to walk, how else are you going to get there? You're going to drive, right? That's the assumption that I'm making.
And we know that he had a car.
And he made 2 trips from his car.
I don't think that really.
Well, then what's the too far to walk? How do you get there if it's too far to walk?
It's just there. It's not one of the 9 clues. It's not one of the 9 locations. That's an assumption that I have not made, him saying not too far to walk, because that's just.
He says you can walk right past 7. 7 of the, you can walk right past 7.
Paul, thanks for trying to confuse him.
Okay. What say you, chat room? I know you've been going crazy, and
it's interesting. 200 feet. Well, what I think is interesting is since 2013, nobody has been within 200 feet of the treasure chest. Can we agree with that?
I don't think he's never said anybody's closer than 200 feet.
But what I'm saying is nobody's been closer.
He said he doesn't believe anybody has as of 2017.
Right. So all you people who think you know right where it is, you're wrong. You haven't been within 200 feet.
Especially the people that have been in it 5 years and have been there 200 times over 5 years. Well, he's been saying the same thing each and every time. No.
You're not within 200 feet. So somewhere along the line, your clues are wrong or you're in the wrong spot. Yeah.
And that's kind of the other point that I wanted to make to anybody that was firmly with their solve in the past. As of, 2017 when he said it? He said, since the 200 feet is accurate, I don't know. As of, if you have given him your solve by May 8th, 2017, I don't know that anyone has been closer than 200 feet, and I don't think they have.
Well, and there's a clarification up on Thor, because one of the articles that came out said a recent searcher had been in 200 feet, and I clarified with him and said, is it a recent searcher? And he said, no, it is not a recent searcher. That was from back in 2013. And so it was basically saying everybody that thinks it's them and everybody's stealing their solves,
they're wrong.
No, we all got nothing.
So here's another.
I mean, 500 feet is pretty close. Right. But there's definitely a big, huge obstacle at 200 feet that everybody seems, even the people that got to 200 feet, seem to stop right at that exact spot. So there's definitely.
Justin, we would like to, if you would like to share your email or how to get in touch with you. Some people are asking
people are going to want to talk to you now. You should have set up a Gmail email before this.
And if you want to do that, you want to wait and have them, we can get that out later.
Yeah, I have one, but I don't know what it is.
Post it on Thor. People can reach you on Thor.
I think I
Yeah.
meant one-eyed Willie at gmail.com or something.
One-eyed Willie. There you go. So okay, Deep Thinker had a good one. And we were talking about the second stanza's 1, 2, or 3 clues. Forrest said the second stanza sounds like 3 or 4 clues to him. I remember when he said that.
Right.
But
And that's the other
remember,
thing.
Deep Thinker, that doesn't mean it is 3 or 4 clues. Forrest is tricky. I think he's looking at it like if a searcher listens to stanza 2, it sounds like 3 or 4 clues. That doesn't mean it is. That's my take on it. That could only be
And
2 clues.
Yeah, and my take on it is like I could 100%. I have actually thought about that a lot. That specific quote about that sounds like 2 or 3, and then he said
3 or
something
4. Yeah, he said 3 or 4. Yeah.
And then so yeah, there is some that about you are starting to pick. If you're going to ignore that quote, then you are starting to pick and choose which quotes you're going to agree with, and that could be dangerous for a confirmation bias.
But wait,
Just
WWWH, Canyon, and Homer Brown.
those could be 3, but they might not. We don't know for sure.
He was getting interviewed by, I think it was Rick Eyes or whatever it was.
Right. I remember the interview. Yeah.
Yeah, and he goes, "That sounds like 2 or 3," but he said it kind of like
No, he said 3 or 4.
3 or 4.
Well,
He
no,
said
and then
3 or 4.
And then Rick Eyes said another thing, like some more of the clues, and he goes, "Well, that sounds like 3 or 4."
Yeah, and Forrest says it sounds like 3 or 4 to me, but that doesn't mean it is. He's saying it sounds like. To me, Forrest is tricky with that stuff. It's just like what was the other thing? You are correct. Any chance to have a show that covers Forrest's most peculiar quotes, i.e., I hid the treasure before writing the poem? I bet if we understood those, we may be much closer to it. That's the hardest one to me to reconcile. Do you know how he could say that, Justin? Do you have any thoughts on the?
Say that again. As far as the what quote?
That he hid the treasure before writing the poem. He says it took him 15 years to write the poem.
Right, and then he also said that he hid it 15 years after he got cancer too. So
right,
it's like,
and then he says I hid the treasure chest before I wrote the poem. But
Right.
then he's made comments. He hit it in 2009 or 2010, and that math doesn't add up. So
Oh, I like Bill Gorman's the best, so I'm going to read it. Disclaimer: the opinions of the hosts are not endorsed by Forrest Fenn. This is total speculation. Yes, 100%. If we could get Forrest on here, we would. But and then it would even cause more mayhem. So
as is every YouTube bill, including yours. That's
Right.
right. It's all
Everything.
speculation.
like
yeah,
you
that's
have
all
to
we
start
got.
somewhere. You have to plant your flag somewhere and start.
Right. Well,
Right,
and that's
right.
that's the cool part. My NESPER solve that I was on for like 18 months. It came from a forum that was talking about something that actually got me down, that moved her and then I grabbed onto something and it took me into a totally different direction. I don't think this is going to break loose anything to say jump on a plane and go, but this is interesting to think about in a different way. What else do we have to do until the snow melts? There's even snow in Raleigh, feet of it.
But for
Well,
all
yeah,
the,
like think about it. Like another way, I want to put it out there. One, because if you have a solve, put your solve up against this. It doesn't make sense.
right, for all the people that within the last 5 years have thought I was the person, I've been the one within 200 feet. Nobody's been within 200 feet. Especially if you
Well, they've been
emailed
200 feet
Forrest
less
your
than-
solve. You're wrong. You're not in the right location within 200 feet. I mean, right? Does that sound right to everybody?
Yeah.
And then the other thing is, you remember when Forrest said in one of the articles that came out this week, he said when he reads emails from searchers, he scans for certain keywords. Do you remember
Right.
that?
Yep.
So to me, the way he knows about the 200 and 500 feet is by looking for those certain keywords. So what to me those keywords would have to be where you are in the Rocky Mountains, like something that says, oh, you're within. If he sees that certain word, whether it's the name of a trail or the name of whatever, oh, you're within 500 feet. If he sees that other keyword, you're within 200 feet.
Right.
Does that make sense?
The other thing I would add to that too is when you have your solve and you're reconciling the two, you have to. Why does your solve mean? What's important 500 feet away from your solve, and why is that important that a lot of people go there? And then you have to say your solve. Why does everybody get stuck at 200 feet from this spot? Right? Because that's where stuck is at 200 feet. For whatever reason, everybody gets stuck at 200, and lots of people go down 500. Right? So that has to make sense and reconcile with your solve.
Well, and this is Dusty brings up a good point. Unless you just started this year and you have caught up to all the vets that have been around 8 years. Actually, you're an advantage because you are not dug into your solve that you've been 200 times. Thinks it's you. The gut feeling was you. You were out there last week. He said something about you, and 26 scrapbooks are about you. So you're actually, I think, I think the
you're
new
ahead of the
people
game. From watching the Cowlazars YouTube channel. That's right. You're ahead of the game. I think it's really good. And the other thing is for all the people that think Madison Junction is where warm waters halt. Does that mean that within 500 feet of Madison Junction, if that was the correct where warm waters halt, or I'm sorry, the treasure chest couldn't be within 200 feet of Madison Junction, but I don't think there's anybody that thinks it is within 200 feet of Madison Junction. Do they? I don't know. I've heard a lot of solves within Yellowstone. I'm just wondering, and that's a pretty big park, right? But I'm just wondering how this could apply to a location within Yellowstone.
Right. And then all of it boils down to the first thing that you need to do is what are your 9 clues? And because that's going to determine how you get to the 500, how you get to the 200.
Right. That's those keywords in the email. There's something
well,
you
that's
told
what Julie
them.
just brought up, and this is where, like Scott and a few others, I disagree with you. I had a I mean, I think everybody's first WWWH is Madison River, Firehole, and then you go to Ojo Caliente. He has seen that a million times. There's no way that that is the key words.
Right.
Just like I will tell you, for as many people as wanted the Lake Heron map, Lake Heron cannot be it as well, because there's hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people that have. I mean, we tried to pick some of the popular areas, and some of those popular areas. So does that rule out where somebody's WWWH is one of the most popular ones?
I think
like
it does.
Ojo Caliente, if that's your WWWH, pick your state, whichever one it is. Does that rule it out?
What was the quote that he said? Why did it say that it can't be a lot of people?
The keyword.
He scans for 2 to 3 keywords, and he doesn't see them very often. Only a handful of people, or a few people, or a couple people.
And those people never emailed him back again. So for all these common WWHs that people send them, that's obviously not correct then, right? I mean, we're assuming here, of course, but unless
he always focuses on the WWWH. We're saying right now, or what I'm hearing from you, Justin, is we've got to focus on Homer Brown because that's where everybody's tripping up. But he keeps saying WWWH, right?
No, I'm saying as of now, I believe Homer Brown is the second clue, and that's 500 feet. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
So Homer Brown to the treasure chest is 500 feet. Is that what
I'm saying? You're taking a card down. You're taking a card down something, and the Homer Brown is where you put in, and that's what once you park, that's 500 feet.
Why not? Okay, why not 200 feet?
What?
Because I was about to say, why not 200 feet? Because you think 3 and 4 are after Homer Brown, clue 3 and 4.
Well, because I think you 3 and 4 get you to from 500 feet to 200 feet.
Okay, and I love you all that are emailing me. I can't do email and do this, so put it in the chat. Some people, I see the beginning of my email because it gives me the preview. Ask Justin this. You've got to put it in. I can't do email and chat room. So
that's why we're doing it live for the chat room.
And my text. Don't text and don't email, please. You guys got to get in the chat. So be brave. Ask the question. Justin doesn't bite most of the time, and he can't get you.
And again, debate's good. Just be civil about it and just.
Yeah, no, everybody's been great, but I have a ton of emails. Everybody's asking questions, which is great, but don't email. Come right in here.
The other thing, and this is just my personal opinion, but the keywords that he looks for in the emails is not the word that is key that we're supposed to be in tight focus with. To me, I think those are 2 separate things. The keywords he's looking for show where you're at in the Rocky Mountains. Right. And that shows how close you are to the treasure chest. Yeah.
Right. The way that I read that, the way that I read that is you say a trail, like you were on blah, blah, blah trail, and he searches for that trail. Basically.
Right. Exactly. It's a landmark of some kind, right? It's got to be a landmark or something.
Okay, so here's now everybody's putting K-Pro. Okay, K-Pro is their truth. Oh crap! It's going too fast. Hold on, let me go back.
And I'm not reading the comments, so that's why I'm not answering anything.
Okay.
Right. We may do a follow-up vlog on this one. We'll see.
Right.
Is there truth in there being a lead searcher? I have my own opinions, but I'll let Justin start with that.
Justin's a lead searcher.
Oh, you're saying I thought you were answering.
Everybody thinks they're the lead searcher.
Yeah, but if nobody's been within 200 feet, I guess the person that was the closest would be the lead searcher, right?
But again, 500 feet is ridiculously close.
Wait.
And a lot of searchers, people have been within 500 feet.
Do you genuinely think you've been within 200 feet?
No.
Okay, so let me be clear, because I got blown.
When I went on that boots on the ground trip, I would have said yes. But after
all of us,
whole thing, like after I did this whole thing, it makes sense with myself. So I can't reconcile the two. So it obviously wasn't me.
Well, and I do want to call this out just because it's a little bit of elephant in the room. I was looking for the 200-foot searcher because I thought that would be a great way to figure out a general location. Justin went out on the forums and actually posted, "Hey, 200-foot searcher, come contact me." I get blown up on with other searchers saying I'm a cheater and all of them. Not one bad thing was said to Justin. I was like, what? How is this happening? That the exact same
I think it's a genius way to do it. And like, again, I'm not saying like do anything illegal, but I mean,
right.
Yes.
Think of every angle. Like that's what he wants you to do. Like, what do you think? Forrest, the whole chase was he wanted somebody to experience the feeling of what he felt when he would find a new painting or whatever, and how he got to that point, right on the line. So
yes.
He probably did to get to that point.
Well, I didn't remember that Forrest Fenn put out a set of rules that says you're not allowed to talk to other searchers or collaborate with other searchers.
Or talk to him. Like, if he wants to talk to you, you got in. Like, do you think that he wants to talk to what's the where he went to the person's house, where he bought all the paintings, like not Fetchin, but one of them. Like, he made a relationship with the wife or whatever to buy all the I mean, that's the game. Like, that's what he did.
People think there are rules. There are no rules. The only rule is that
there's
9 clues in the poem. But you're right.
Yeah,
obviously, you're only supposed to do something legally. But there are no rules other than that. It's like when somebody said, well, you know what, I'm not even going to go there. To me, there are no rules. If you can find it, go get it. It's pretty much that simple. Yeah.
As long as it's legal, it all is fair and level. Even if you're...
Yeah, I would never do anything illegal to find it, because I don't think Forrest would put anybody in danger that way.
Right. Well, and I'm kind of... I think bring as much to everyone, because some people are upset that I bring it to everybody. If I get something, just keep it with your close friends. And I'm like, you know what? I'd rather know what the solve is than this to go on all these stairs. Okay,
and I will point out that there's been a couple choice words from Forrest that people did keep to themselves, but you were the one who brought it out and talked about it. So I'll leave that alone too.
And there will be some more. I will tell you eventually one day. I don't know if it'll ever happen again. No, I take that back. I totally take that back. He said 3 people said keywords that caught his attention. It is either 3 different people or one person who told him keywords on 3 separate occasions.
Keywords, plural. One gets you to 500 feet and the other one is 200 feet. That makes total sense.
Okay, Craig Carter says, so this whole theory hinges on a set of statements by a reporter. Quote 6 needs to be removed from this theory. Quote.
What was 6? Well, I don't remember what.
I forget. I don't have it up.
I can go back. But...
Hey, I'm not saying that you're not right. I just need to look at it.
Yeah.
So Deep Thinker said Forrest said 200 footers solved the first 2 clues, but he didn't think they knew it. How does that affect the discussion? So I guess a real big point to make is that those people, when he says people may have solved 3 or 4 clues, does that get you closer to 2? Well, no, it wouldn't get you closer to 2.
See, the way I interpreted that is that for whatever reason they got up to 200 feet. First thinks that means that they may have solved 3 and 4 because 3 and 4 are supposed to get you to 200 feet.
See, and I don't.
Maybe.
How else could you get there? Like, what other solution would it be other than these people got up to 200 feet and they may have solved 3 and 4?
But didn't he also say the people within 200 feet didn't realize they were within 200 feet? In other words, the clues may not have led them there. They may not have realized where they were at.
Right, because they didn't solve 3 or 4. Even though solving 3 and 4 gets you to 200 feet. Maybe they say they got off trail.
Oh, I see what you're saying. But 3 and 4 could get you closer. It's just they made it within 200 feet, not solving 3 and 4.
They solved 1 and 2, went off from 500. They went off trails the way I understood. I interpret that is they got to 500 feet where everybody gets to. They go, you know what? I'm just going to go over that way for a little bit. And then, so they walk. And so, whoa, they got to 200 feet, even though they didn't. They didn't seem like they saw 3 or 4. They have solved 3 or 4.
If you think Homer Brown is clue 2, what are the rest of them all the way down to the blaze? Or do you think
stanza 3 is 3 and 4? That's what you walk by. The stanza 3.
The heavy loads and water high. But then the very next line is if you've been wise and found the blaze. So your clues go down to the rest of the poem. Like a lot of people's clues stop at the blaze.
Right. Wherever there's punctuation other than commas, that's where from where warm mothers halt. That's
down. Okay.
And so that's why it makes sense that you walk by 3 and 4 in tandem, because in stanzas 3, they're all together. The both of them are together.
So your clues go all the way down to I give you title to the gold. I got you.
And I haven't, as of now, what that means, I don't know.
Right. hopefully the person that finds the chest will know.
But hey, you know what? If I figure out all the way to that part and I am right, I'm 200 feet away, so I can figure out the rest.
Well, we've
And
definitely. Go ahead.
No, I'm watching the chat room and it's going a different direction. No, you don't have to just seduce Forrest to get the toe tipping and the toe in the water. Scott Conway did it. Yeah. Scott, did you go and seduce Forrest Fenn for that? I mean, when I get it, I'm seducing him. When he gets it.
And was it Jeff Stevens that said that Forrest told him that a couple years ago about the toe tipping in warm waters? Remember?
No, but when I do it, it's because I'm finagling and doing.
Don't take the bait. They're just trying to.
Right. But guys, the point is, he said it to a bunch of people. Only certain people have come out publicly to admit it. That's the difference, I think. He said it to a bunch of people.
And I think it's a good thing. Let's get it out to everybody and solve this thing.
But what's interesting to me is even if we knew for sure, without a doubt, we had the right where warm waters halt, nobody's been within the 200 feet. It's a lot harder after that. Now, that does contradict when Forrest says where warm waters halt is the easiest clue and they get easier.
Okay,
Apparently
so
not.
Let me flip it a little for you, Justin. So we know somebody has had WWWH in Canyon. That we agree to. You and I differ maybe a little bit, but let's go with your logic. WWWH Canyon and Homer Brown, somebody has locked in. And they didn't
park the car. In my scenario, they parked the car, they're getting out of the car, and they're walking.
And they didn't get it, but it was supposed to be easier.
Well,
how did that happen?
In my opinion, that's where the whole little girl from India. I think clues 1 and 2 are very they're from. You can get them from a map. I think 4 through 9, it's all how Forrest saw the world. How Forrest saw a rabbit in the clouds. You got to have that kind of mental mindset.
There's this. It's like Indiana Jones. It has to be a certain time of day where the shadow goes in a certain way.
I think that might have something to do with the very end. Yeah, for sure. It would not surprise me at all. That's like something at the end. But I think the first 2, that's why it's easier for the girl in India to get the first 2 because you can get the first 2 from a map.
Higher Road asked, we need Forrest Fenn to update his gut feeling. He did. He updated it on Thor. He gave a quote that said it wasn't based on anything and he doesn't feel it anymore. So, and you can see it wasn't found this year. So I think it was funny. And I'll say this for the 100th time for all of you that has been with us for so long. When Forrest first put out his gut feeling, somebody put up a poll on Thor of, is it you? And there was 29 people that was gut feelings me. Right. I got it this year, locked in 100%.
That's just what people do. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and none of us have it. So,
and remember, he's a great marketer. I work at a marketing company. And so putting out, because it definitely got me to jump in feet first. I have a gut feeling. That's great marketing. They couldn't do a better job of marketing your hunt than saying, I have a gut feeling it's going to happen. Oh, well, everybody scurries off and because everybody thinks it. So you got to remember too, Forrest is selling something. He's selling everybody in the hunt.
Well, if you think about it, all the people that already had a solid solve, they thought it was them. Then there was a bunch of people that were bowing out and they had emailed Forrest, they were bowing out. And then a week later, he talks about the gut feeling. And then all of a sudden they're like, I'm back in because obviously it was mine. So he got everybody back in.
Yeah, smart business.
Okay, for Justin, the little girl is not from India. She is in India. There is a reason he says in. What do you think?
In India, there's a reason it says in India.
Because she's just using maps, right?
Jenny Kyle's the one that brought up the little girl from India. So that wasn't Forrest's girl. He was answering the question if a girl from India. So it wasn't Forrest saying India unless he's in cahoots with Jenny Kyle, which we know is not the case. So, India, the girl from India has nothing to do with it. The 2 clues being able to be solved by the girl in India, in my opinion, have a lot to do with it because that means she could get it.
Just using a map, right?
Okay, I'm going to do one more and then we're way over. So what do you think about Forrest saying if you can solve the first few clues, you can find the treasure? Might not be as easy, but it can be done.
Because if you solve the first 2 clues, you're within 500 feet.
Right.
But, but then you should find the treasure. Why are people walking by it? Right on by it.
There is something significant at 200 feet.
Because they're not trying the wheel in the proper way.
There's no wheel getting over this. Whatever this 200-foot barrier is, I don't know if it's a wall. I don't know what it is, but everybody stops at 200 feet. Exactly. So there has to be.
They're going the wrong way or something. Yeah.
Well, no, not even the wrong. I think literally the only way I can picture it is there's a cliff, there's a big wall, there's something that everybody runs into this and has to stop it.
Okay, we figured it out. You have to have the copper search coin, and you have to put it in the hologram before you can advance.
It's
We
like the
figured it out.
lock in the Goonies. That's right. The coin is the lock.
Only on the summer solstice, though.
But you have to have a copper and a silver one, everybody. So order 2 maps and get your silver
And
coin.
you have to have the exact same sequence number,
That's
or
right.
it does not work.
That's right.
Okay.
Or you fall through the
now-
ground. You fall through the ground. Yeah.
right.
My goodness gracious. Okay,
Well,
now
this
we've
has
got.
been a heck of a show. I think
Yeah.
it's really interesting what you put together. I think a lot of people are going to be watching this one and pausing it and kind of reconciling all this with their solution. And
That's all
Yeah.
it is. Yeah.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I would love to see a well thought out. Oh, I forgot to give him the link. Did you get? Hopefully, you gave him the link.
I sent it to Forrest. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I did.
So hopefully, when we get the end of year roundup or the Feb 4, one of them is about this pesky 200, 500 foot searcher. I would love for him to say nobody's even close, because then everybody that says they are the closest.
well,
No,
I was
but
thinking about it, and not to like, I was thinking about it too. Like, there'd be so much benefit to him saying that nobody this past season was within 1,000 feet that he knows of that emailed him. Because there's a lot of people that are going to the same spot over and over, spending so much money. And if you would just say, because if he really got no emails from anybody, for him just to say that nobody was within 500 feet, that could at least give them, and they emailed him, that could at least tell them to move on.
Well, but here's what I have to say to that. They still won't. It will be,
Yeah.
oh, it was Fenn speak, or is didn't mean is, or what. They won't. They won't.
Right.
I mean, I don't think we're at 165 people still. Justin, this has been quite a night. I think we have a few other things. So let's round up this evening, because we
Yeah.
did need to talk about the couple of other things, Mike.
Let's talk about World Series of Fenn.
Yes.
You want to put the info out there? Or you want me to?
Yeah, January 26th, 7:00 at Bally's. You need to email me that you're coming. Right now, we have 16 people confirmed. 20 is our bubble
Oh,
of whether we
16,
need to
okay.
get. Yeah, 16
Yeah.
or 17, I
Yeah.
forget. So if you think you're coming, let me know, because at 20, if they don't get extra dealers, they're going to put you on a waiting list. So we're going to go with the people that have RSVP. So just RSVP. You don't have to pay until the day of. We just want to get an estimated number. Some people have asked, are we going to do something Friday night? Probably we'll at least do an informal dinner. We'll figure out what happens on Saturday morning, and probably there'll be some little informal get together afterwards. But we're working on that. The biggest thing that we need is, how many tables do we need? There's 10 to a table, and it's all official with the casino. We are going to have some extra prizes and some extra things. So if we decide to make up t-shirts and bring them for you guys to buy or give or whatever, if we only have 15 and 30 show up, we just want to kind of get a number. So please,
and for
go ahead,
anybody that's brand new, let's just take a step back for a minute. We're going to do a poker tournament, because we did one after the Jamie drawing in Santa Fe. So we decided to make this an annual thing. So we're going to have a poker tournament here in Las Vegas, Nevada at the Bally's Casino. It's a $60 buy-in. Somebody just asked how much does it cost. $60 buy-in. They're going to pay out the money just like they would a normal tournament. We don't have any control over that. But we are going to add some extra prizes. And you guys, I'm not sure if we're going to announce what those are the week before, maybe the week of, until we get it finalized. But they are some pretty cool prizes, and it'll be a lot of fun. Just email kpro3@aol.com if you know you're going to make it. And if anybody that's RSVP'd but you have to cancel, please let us know that too, because that affects what's going on.
Yeah. Why not have the poker tournament in New Mexico? Because it is not permitted.
Right.
Right. Las Vegas it is, and it's the easiest way. And then Mike doesn't have the excuse of, I was the dealer and that's the reason I didn't win the tournament.
I'm winning this tournament. I just want everybody to know.
Yeah, I've heard that from you and Decal, and yeah, okay, boys.
Everybody's welcome to this tournament. All you have to do is have the $60 buy-in to give the casino to sit down and play. So.
Oh, and you do. Somebody did ask. I don't want anybody to know my name. Work it with the casino. You are going to probably need to show ID, and if you win, you have to show ID. Now, you might want to not do it in front of everybody. We'll tell the people, like, okay, we're all a little weird. We don't want everybody knowing everything. I mean, we're not all like Mike, who has all of our information out. But did you need to tell me your name? No.
Yeah, no, we don't even need to know who you are.
Yeah, but they will need to know if you win at the tournament. So,
Justin, any plans on being there at the poker tournament?
No, I mean, I've got little kids, so we're Disney World trips and those kind of things. Right?
Okay.
That's taking up the majority of my money and time.
So
yeah, we're not going to Las Vegas, New Mexico. We're going to
Yeah,
Las Vegas,
Nevada, yeah.
Nevada.
Flamingo and the Strip. There is a Motel 6 if anybody needs a very cheap option. There is a Motel 6 right at Tropicana, right next to Hooters, as a matter of fact. And it's not a typical Motel 6 because it is close to the Strip, but it's probably cheaper than any of the Strip hotels, maybe, you know.
And I have had 2 people ask me if Mike will give some lessons earlier that day, and I have volunteered Mike for that.
Yeah,
So, Mike,
yeah.
you are the little teacher for the day. It'll be fabulous.
Even if you've never played poker in your life, come on out and throw in $60 and have some fun. You know, the dealers will teach you. The dealers, while we're playing, help you along, and I'm happy to do a lesson, like she said beforehand. So, the
Yeah,
other
and there
thing
is a
is, yeah, go ahead.
T-shirt. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's what I was just gonna say. Go ahead.
Okay, you go. You go.
So we were thinking of maybe doing T-shirts or selling T-shirts. We're not sure yet, but we did have a little design contest, and we've changed the rules a little bit. We're going to close that design contest this Thursday, because when we do get a design that we like and we want to order T-shirts, we have to have enough time in order to order them and have them ready by January 26th. So the T-shirt design contest is closed this Thursday. Monday's show, a week from now, is when we will announce who the winner is, and the winner has their choice of 1 copper coin, 1 silver coin without a sequence number, or a map, map of what's available.
Yeah.
So,
and the tournament is January 26th, 7 p.m. at Bally's. It's also up on Thor, but somebody asked in the room.
And as of right now, there are no submissions for the design contest. So we may not get that many. We may not do a T-shirt. Maybe I'll just do Cowlazars T-shirts. I don't know. We'll figure it out.
And there has been some that have been giving us concepts. I'm not a design person, so concepts are nice, but we need like the actual design.
Right.
Yeah, and the rates are actually really good and it's like between Super Bowl and Valentine's Day, so it's actually like a kind of a dead week, so that's great. And then Matt.
Wait, no. Super Bowl would be after, right? Super Bowl's in February. We're going to be there January 26th. So we're the weekend or
maybe
2
it's
weekends
President's
before.
Day. I don't know. It's between holidays.
Yeah. So we're hoping it'll be a slow weekend in Vegas for what a slow weekend is in Vegas. So we hope everybody can tune in and show up and play the poker tournament. I'd love to be able to live stream it, but because it's in a casino and because some people want to be anonymous, but there'll be a vlog on it. Don't worry. So when you guys show up to the poker tournament, just make sure you tell me. I don't want to be in a vlog, and I can make that happen. But don't worry, we'll make a vlog out of it.
And then what about maps, Mike? How are those maps? You're taking out of those maps?
So I'm kind of caught up. Everybody that paid it up to this point, I've gotten your map out in the mail as of today. So now I can go through the 30 emails of orders that I have and say if this is available or not available. And if it is, then this is how you pay. So I'm getting there. There's still about 30 orders I haven't got to. But yeah, I hope everybody can order 2 maps, because if you order 2 maps, you get the silver 2019 Searcher coin. And people have been wanting to know how many coins. Roughly around 50 coins are gone at this point. So that means there's still like 150 left. So it's not like we're going to run out anytime soon unless somebody goes crazy and orders a whole bunch of maps. But you can get the details at fennmaps@gmail.com. And I'll put that in here. We don't have anything on eBay at this point. Maybe we will in the future. We'll see.
And then Thursday. Do we want to talk about Thursday just to make sure everybody knows that is in?
So we're going to do something a little bit different for Thursday's show. We are going to talk about the Jingle Bell Rock treasure hunt, which is taking place in Las Vegas. We are actually going to go through the clues that have been released by the radio so far, and we're going to brainstorm and talk about the Jingle Bell Rock. They're actually hiding it Thursday night. Thursday, after our show, is when it will be hidden, and they said starting Friday, you can actually find it somewhere in Las Vegas.
So those of you that don't know, the Jingle Bell Rock, what they've done over the last 2 weeks is every day they give out, on a radio station, hint each day. And so there's 30 hints already out there. And then Thursday night at midnight, they're actually putting it out there. So we thought it would be cool because Mike and Decal both are in that hunt. And then myself as an outsider, I've looked at the hints and I figured a bunch of them out, is to kind of give out what we see. And then if you guys, we're going to also advertise it. Decal does some advertising with the Jingle Bell Rock people. And so hopefully we get a whole crew of people in here and maybe some people that might be close by, because we have a bunch of Las Vegas people that are also Fenn treasure hunters.
Right.
And those of you that may not be, please please
Yeah,
tell Mike
give
and
us your
D-Call and they
thoughts.
can run out and get it for you.
Right.
So anyway,
10 grand is 10 grand. That would really help for a boots on the ground search next year, right? So Rodney, going back to the t-shirt, asked, what is the design criteria? There really isn't one, other than it's only one submission per person. And we're thinking maybe just the front of the t-shirt, not front and back. So just a logo or words or whatever you think would be appropriate for the World Series of Fenn for a annual poker tournament. Other than that, it's kind of up in the air, right?
Some people ask, like, does it have to say Fenn, World Series of Fenn? Does it have to be a playoff of World Series of Poker?
Right.
Any and all of those things.
Yeah.
It's just whatever's clever, whatever you think would look good, not look good. I don't know. Where it's kind of open.
And we may sell those t-shirts in the future, even after the poker tournament. We don't know yet because we don't have any design submissions yet, so we'll have to decide that. But that's why we're going to cut it off Thursday so we can make those decisions. Yeah, and the maps are there. I just will update the list that's on Thor, so everybody can see what the locations are.
I updated it yesterday. Oh, did you do another update?
Oh, you did update it yesterday.
Yeah, I took it from
good,
your page.
Good. Then it is updated. That is an updated list. But just understand, I'm not perfect, so sometimes you may email me and say, well, the list says this is available. Yeah, but there's 30 people in front of you, so by the time I get to your email, it may not be available. So have some backup choices, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So World Series of Fenn and then the maps. Anything else, Christy, that we need to talk about?
I don't think so. I think that's everything. So
yeah, that's an hour and a half. So thank you to Justin. That was really awesome. I think you're going to
get
a lot
night,
of
165. I think we were at. Good job, Justin.
Hopefully it was thought provoking.
Right? Yeah, and it is. It definitely is.
Yeah, agree or disagree. Like, debate's good. Think about it.
Love it.
So everybody subscribe if you want to be notified when we do go live. We go live on Mondays and Thursdays. For the World Series of Fenn, I'll probably be doing a live impromptu, just like I did from the Blue Corn in Santa Fe. We might have one of those crazy videos again.
Oh, whoa.
If people want updates on the poker tournament, I could always, you could join Cowlazars Grand Adventure on Facebook, and that's probably where I'll put updates as well for the poker tournament. And you never know, me and Christy might just decide to go live outside of Mondays and Thursdays. So if you're subscribed and you hit that little bell, you should be notified. I know some people say it doesn't work, but I don't have any control over that. But give a thumbs up to the video if you enjoyed it. Email Justin, tell him thanks. I think we should start a thread just for this on Thor and let everybody weigh in.
Actually, I think I already did, and then Justin has one over on Chase Chat, and we'll have to get one over on Harry's.
On Harry's,
I mean, I think it would be a good discussion. Get the Facebook groups going on it. I think it's been interesting.
I posted the link on Reddit. Everybody can check Reddit. I'm sure those people are going to be talking about it as well.
Yeah. I'm gonna eat and go to bed tonight, so I'm not gonna be looking at the board. But I will respond if you tomorrow or the next day.
Yeah. Nice. Good conversations. It's good to get everybody to think about those clues in the poem. So, yeah, thanks a lot, Justin.
Well, and some people have been asking me, am I able to come on, or can I give you some ideas of some different thoughts? Yes, it's hard when this is going. I tried to go look at the chat the next day or two, but if you email myself at kpro3@aol.com or at cowlazars@gmail, we'll take ideas. We do want to talk through a little bit and make sure that it's going to flow and everything. But and we kind of give lots of opportunity to be able to, as long as you're able to have a thick skin like Justin was, and be able to give feedback. And I mean, that's what it's all about. And I really like having the nice debate. That's the fun stuff.
Yeah. Maybe Julie, but just email us. It's just better to contact through email. And if you want to be on the show, maybe you've never ever been on YouTube before. That's fine. Just email us. And what we do is we do a practice video offline that's not on YouTube. And that's the way, it's almost like an interview. What do you want to talk about? Do you have the camera set up and the audio to make it happen? So yeah, we can schedule those times if anybody wants to be on the show.
Yeah, I think we're booked out for, through the end of the year. But we'll see, because we are going to take a little bit of time off for the holidays. But we have, I think, 2 or 3 people that are already wanting to be lined up, but again, we have to work out tech issues and all of that. So
Thursday, Jingle Bell Rock with Decal Thomas. Do we have plans for Monday's show, or are we not releasing that yet?
We're not releasing that.
Oh, okay.
Well, we need to talk. Yeah, I
didn't know
to you about it before I do this crazy thing. Let's talk about it, Mike, before we talk about it in front of 137 other people.
We do need to do a wrap-up year in review, though. We'll do that before the end of the year. Right? Doesn't that make sense?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, sure.
All right. Thanks again, Justin. Thanks everybody for tuning in, and we will see you Thursday night. Jingle Bell Rock.